Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. Say hello.
Welcome to the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Weldie and Andrew here, recapping some Husky hockey action as the women had the D1 in DC, two formidable non-conference battles, where it was an overtime victory for the first game, and then defeat at the hands of the Golden Knights of Clarkson on the second night. We'll go ahead and preview Minnesota State as that game is around the corner for the women, and also preview North Dakota. So that is on the docket. We've got another ticket giveaway coming up as well. So we got a jam-packed show for you now. But first and foremost, I want to apologize if I have it sound like my teeth are going to be chattering throughout the rest of this episode, as I had the lovely experience of every homeowner's rite of passage that my furnace went out. And if a lot of St. Cloud fans are listening right now, this is not the week for your furnace to go out.
Indeed not. I owned a home in St. Cloud for 7 years, and the furnace was one thing I did not have a problem with. I had problems with other things in the house, but not the furnace. But you, sir, are not as lucky as I was.
No. Well, I know we've been in this house about 8.5, 9 months or 9 months. Geez, 9 years or so. And the furnace was, pretty old by then. We always knew the furnace was going to be kind of on our next list, but it kept getting pushed back. But this is the last of the appliances. We've got a new roof, we got a new AC unit, we got new stove, microwave, fridge over the years. Now the furnace was the last one, and here as it's 0 degrees outside, that's of course the time that it ends up crapping out on us. Which, makes sense, because it's not going to crap out on you when you're not using it. It's when it's running full bore. So that's how it happens, right?
I don't mean to rub this in, but did you say it's 0 degrees there right now? Is that true?
Well, when we woke up this yesterday morning, the house thermostat said 56, I think, inside the house. And yeah, the outside air temperature at that time was -3.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
even for Minnesota, that's a little early for that kind of cold snap.
Yeah. And this kind of hit up quickly. So I don't know, like, this is probably something you're not exactly missing there, as I was stressing about a furnace and it went out, and now I got to pay for a new furnace. So we got to get our sponsors back on the phone here to help with that.
That might spur me into action, sir.
Andrew was talking in our green room about he just went for a run. He was sweating. He's got very comfortable weather going on. So
I pumped the brakes on that. The last week or so, it's been low 60s. Like, it's light sweater weather, and I kind of got to do the rubbing my hands together, blow into my hands. It's a little chilly. There's a chill.
Got to warm up the car a little bit here.
I certainly sympathize with your plight.
So anyway, I'm still in good spirits. But it was kind of a touch and go day for me. But I'm happy to sit here with you, Andrew. I'm happy to talk some Huskies hockey. So let's
yes, Andrew, the well-known symbol of warmth. Your co-host, Andrew.
Exactly. So let's kick off the show, shall we?
So we're talking about whiskey today.
Whiskey.
I don't think this is just the whiskeys of the world bit today. This is a required whiskey. This isn't just for recreation. This is a Monday that our furnace died when it's -3. That kind of whiskey day.
Yeah. So
like this might not be your first whiskey of the day kind of whiskey.
This is going to make me feel the warmth from the inside type of whiskey. I think, I have one, I only have about one or two and then I lose count. So this is kind of what we're going. And we are staying fairly local as far as whiskeys of the world is concerned. We are United States. We're going to Tennessee. We're going to Tennessee whiskey.
Ooh.
Which I think for it to be classified Tennessee whiskey is actually just bourbon, but they want to brand it a different way. So I think...
Well, no, bourbon legally can only be produced, to call it bourbon, I believe it needs to be produced in the state of Kentucky. So I don't think it's necessarily a Tennessee thing. I think it's more of a Kentucky thing.
Nope. Bourbon is the United States. It's not just Kentucky. It's got to be made from corn. It's got to be aged in charred oak barrels, new charred oak barrels, and it has to be at least 40 proof, not 40 proof, 40%, 90 proof. I think somewhere in there. But no,
you clearly know more. You know more about your whiskey than I do, so I will take your word for it.
This is pretty good though. It smells pretty good, right on the nose. This is Uncle Nearest, which I have not had before. I think I've seen it at Total Wine though. So
I was going to say if this was like a Costco knockoff, like instead of Jack Daniel, it'd be like John Danielson's Tennessee whiskey.
John Danielson. It sounds like somebody I played golf with once.
I think there's a John. I think they give out John Danielson's whenever you're founding a town. Every town has one.
Yeah, sure enough. Pretty good. Pretty good flavor at the front. This is, it's got a good set to it. Nothing to overly rate home about. I'll give this a flat 7-0.
Would it be insulting to sort of compare it to Jack? It being the best known of the Tennessee whiskeys?
Like Jack proper? It is better than
Daniels,
Jack proper.
Black label Jack Daniels.
Yeah, it's better than that. But like if we're going like the single barrel select, no, it's not that good. So
7-0.
The levels of the Jack Daniels.
I don't think that we went to Tennessee on the first go round. I don't know if you put the state. I know we had a couple of USAs. I don't know if you put the state. I think at least one of them was Kentucky.
Yes. Green River, that's Kentucky. The other one, Colorado, Breckenridge.
So our first Tennessee of the two sets now.
Of the two sets. Yep, exactly. So, all right, perfect. Let's head to the women's game. The first game defeated Colgate 3-2 in overtime. Kind of a little bit of a scary one. Whereas, I felt like the Huskies are, playing well, especially that second period. Ended up getting 2 power play goals by Sophiana Sunderland. And then here we are, a lead going into the third period. And this is where I was like, okay, we gotta close it down. We gotta, we've had leads against Bemidji in the third, Ohio State, St. Thomas, games that we should have won that we haven't been able to close out. And then we get a penalty called on us, and sure enough, it is a power play goal for Colgate. We even had to survive another power play goal or penalty kill opportunity for too many players on the ice, which I was like, this team can't get out of their own way. I was really frustrated that, but we're able to kill that one off. And Sunderland, again, with their hat trick, comes in big in overtime, ends up getting the 3-2 victory, all three from Sofiana Sunderland. That is the 28th hat trick all time in St. Cloud State women's history. And the first one since Emma Gentry last year was able to get one against Bemidji State. So able to get that victory over Colgate, which is a nice little boost for St. Cloud as a team that, is expected to kind of be there towards the end of the season. Followed up against Clarkson, and unfortunately just not exactly able to get the offense going, despite many opportunities, especially there in the third period, where we had 3 power play opportunities, and the first one, I guess, was only 8 seconds long. But you had the 2 there essentially back to back in the third to try to kind of right the ship. But to no avail, and offense kind of dried up there. So we had zeros on the board, 2-0 loss. Carrico was in net and got the start there for both games, which I believe is the right call. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to see a lot of the Clarkson game. I had my own daughter at a hockey tournament in Elk River that we were at. But I was able to get a good chunk of the Colgate game. So I'm going to have to lean on you a little bit with the Clarkson analysis. But just overall, what were your thoughts on the Huskies this weekend?
Well, you're leaning on me. It's a scary thought. I don't know if the
we all are strong.
It is a great
I'll
song.
Be a friend.
You're a really good singer.
So
has anyone told you that? You're a really good singer. You should try karaoke sometime.
Yeah.
I
could do.
Hesitate
my
to be
go-to karaoke is like Ballroom Blitz, because it's more shout singing, and I think it's a little bit easier to carry a tune that way.
That's a good tip. I think I'll remember that the next time that I do karaoke. I
can see you getting up there. What would be your karaoke song?
There's plenty of times that I was drunk enough that I wouldn't remember that I did karaoke, but on my recollection, I don't think I've ever done karaoke.
You've never gone up there? I used to go at Buffalo Wild Wings all the time. Back
you look
when
like
Buffalo
a guy
Wild Wings
that did karaoke at Buffalo Wild Wings.
I
say that with
very
love.
Much so. No, I would say it with hate. That's fine. It's valid either way. So
I think it's probably a good idea that I don't do it, because I would probably depress. I like the dirges. I like the sad songs.
Ooh,
not exactly the kind of songs that you want to do on karaoke night.
No, a lot of people do, and it's just like, no, I want to karaoke to have some fun, be uplifting, like do the Monkees or like Dating Believer, something to get everybody kind of pumped up. That's how I am with karaoke. Like everything else, it's like when people do like sad songs. It's like, you're a good singer, but like I'm not here to be bummed out and drink and have
Give
fun.
me the microphone. I will clear this bar out with depression. With this song that I'm going to deliver. It's probably a good idea that I avoid karaoke night. But in terms of leaning on me for analysis for this weekend, big caveat. I don't know if it was same for you, but the YouTube feed, which we should be grateful that we had a YouTube feed. Quite herky jerky. Like it seemed to not. It was like old school internet. Like it just wasn't really tracking. Very smoothly.
It was probably about 15 frames a second.
Yeah,
like it was. It chugged kind of like in Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask when you're going into the palace and all those colors are there, and it's just That N64 couldn't keep up. That's kind of how it felt like when I was watching this stream. So yeah, it left a lot to be desired. It's really something to say Ohio State's stream would be a massive step up, but it definitely.
I'm glad that Dan Jacobson got that video game reference, by the way, because that means at least someone that listened to the show got that reference.
I guarantee there are 2 or 3 people that got that as well.
Yeah, because not only did you have the herky-jerky, the speed of the internet was creating a bit of a lag and like an epileptic effect of the stream, but you had the similar Ohio State problem where you have going through the fishnet as well. So at least we had something to go by, but difficult to really gain a great grasp on the action. I mean, I thought these are 2 decent opponents. I'm not retracting that. I think it's more so we learned that Ohio State is elite, which wasn't a surprise, but the fact that they beat Clarkson 8-rip and then Colgate 4-0, 4 goal periods 3 times this weekend for Ohio State, 4 goals apiece in the second and the third against Clarkson, and then a full 4-goal second against Colgate. So they were scoring in bunches, and beating Clarkson to the extent that they did meant that Clarkson, most of those goals, I think 7 of the 8 were against Holly Gruber, their main starter. So they got this LeBlanc in net for Clarkson, who hasn't had that much action this year. Maybe that was a bad thing in retrospect, that we got the backup that's kind of hungry for game action. She played well for Clarkson in that second game, getting the shutout. Sometimes those, we're seeing their backup. Sometimes that can be have a boomerang effect. So, the weekend ending with a shutout, it always kind of colors your reaction of the weekend. If the negative result comes on the tail end of the weekend, rather than like if these were flipped, we might feel a little bit more encouraged if we're coming off the latest result being the overtime win. But as it was, yes, it's disappointing that you didn't at least get one regulation win, and you had that third period lead against Colgate. You mentioned the several games this year already where St. Cloud has coughed up third period leads. This one adding to the list. Not a good list to compile, but at least getting a win, albeit in overtime, was a good thing. It sort of set kind of met our expectations for this weekend. I think we both kind of came into this weekend with a split mind, and kind of also thinking that Colgate is the team that the win's likely going to come against rather than Clarkson. So you got something out of this weekend. I think the Colgate and Clarkson are fine. I don't think they're great teams, but this was a test, and we saw some good things, obviously, with Sunderland. Doubling her goal total this year. She's up to 6 now. Came into the weekend with 3, getting all 3, as you mentioned, on Friday, including the overtime winner. I don't think I wouldn't put her performance this year certainly as being disappointing. I mean, she is leading the team in points now with this weekend. She's got 14 on the year now, close to a point per game average. But at least from the goal scoring perspective, perhaps a little bit disappointing. Again, I think with her as a center, does a lot of the little things that necessarily don't go into the box score. So again, I don't think that she's been underwhelming, but just from the goals and assist standpoint, maybe not quite at the level that we were expecting. And performances like we saw from her on Friday, providing the entirety of the offense for St. Cloud on the entire weekend, if you count the shutout on Saturday. So, it's disappointing that you didn't get any other scoring besides Sunderland, and aside from non-5-on-5 action. As you mentioned, 2 power play goals and then 3-on-3 winner. So that means on 5-on-5 action this weekend, scoreless. And even with the power play tallies, they must have changed that because that second goal on Friday came right at the tail end of that power play. And I think when I looked at this box score, they originally had that goal as 1 second later, which would have been right as the power play ended. So I didn't know if they were counting it as a non-power play goal, but kind of a quasi one because the player hadn't returned to the action. But it looks like they've changed the time of the goal, which makes it definitely a power play goal. So I thought it was 1 for 12 on the power play combined both games. But if you count those 2 goals on Friday being on the power play, 2 for 12, still not a great power play percentage. And with all the amounts of chances they were getting, especially in that Clarkson game, especially late in that Clarkson game, I feel like the power play was a bit of a letdown this weekend because that could have been the opportunity to get back into that game in particular and maybe to salt away a Colgate game before that goes into overtime. So certainly this wasn't a weekend that we were like, wow, this team is back into, NPI contention, basically where they were as they started the weekend, 21st, roughly, 20th, maybe. Got a lot of work to do. The benefit of being in this conference is that basically every weekend you're going to have opportunities to boost your rating based on the strength of schedule, based on the strength of all of the teams in the WCHA. Minnesota State, surprisingly or not, they are right on the doorstep in terms of being an NCAA qualifier right now. You're going to Mankato this weekend, which we'll preview in a little bit. There was an opportunity for you to make up some quick ground, not only in NPI, but also in the conference standings as well. So you got something out of this weekend. I think these are decent teams. Nothing to hang your hat about to lose to a team like Clarkson. We tend to have higher expectations. Perhaps they're a little too high. I mean, we are a little frustrated that the weekend was only resulting in an overtime, not a full quote unquote regulation win. But we'll take it, and we still see some definite strength. I did like the fact that we saw Kariko both games. Mm-hmm. I at least hope to see her on Friday. Again, I don't think that we're in a situation where we're not going to see anything out of Choback. I have some more thoughts on that, but I've been talking for a while. So I get not maybe a thumbs up weekend, but at least one that you didn't further dig yourself a deeper hole than you already have already.
Yeah, I really liked I would say kind of the response, at least in that second period for the Huskies there against Colgate. And then now that, but you had 2 power play chances, able to convert on one with Sunderland. So it's just as that game was going on, I was happy with how that second period was progressing, and then the third period happened, and it was just I think this team is incredibly talented and incredibly good when they just stop getting in their own way. And they kind of did it a little bit in that third period, and thus resulting in them Colgate tying it up and forcing overtime. As you saw the Clarkson game, and sadly, like I said, I wasn't able to watch it. Did you feel that there was any stretches where St. Cloud was kind of the better team there, or that they just weren't converting on some of the chances point blank, or what would you say were some of the big things that kind of kept them from getting on the scoreboard?
I mean, I'd like to say the third period they put in the best rush, but a lot of that was based on power play. But even some of these power play opportunities were pretty, devoid of grade A opportunities. The power play was, at least in the Clarkson game in particular, disappointing. And you're going to have games like that. You got to give some credit to Clarkson, who I'm sure they're not a team that loses by 8, certainly in recent history. So I'm sure that they came out to that with some extra motivation on Saturday. And give them some credit, because they're a better team than the score that they lost by against Ohio State on Friday. They're better than that would indicate. So I think they had something to prove. They didn't want to leave the DC area with nothing to show for it, other than an embarrassing loss against Ohio State on their record. So give them some credit. I thought the first half of the game, St. Cloud was just not really generating much of anything. I don't think they were really testing LeBlanc very much, and it was kind of disappointing. Again, the third period, I thought they came out strongest, but they give up the power play goal early in that third period, and from then on, Clarkson isn't going to be. They're playing a little bit on their back foot, plus the fact they ran into some power play or some penalty issues later in the period. Clarkson did, so perhaps that explains a little bit of the shot disparity in that third period. But sure, there was really not, to answer your question, I didn't really think that there was a great flurry, like a sustained period of action in the offensive zone that St. Cloud was able to generate, a good number of consecutive quality chances. Those kind of chances were few and far between, I thought. And, frustrating because I think that it was a team, you just lost 2-0. It's not like, you needed a bunch of offense to win that game. But as it turned out, I think Clarkson's defense is, that's part of the reason that they weren't able to generate the kind of offense that they wanted to, I'm sure. So you got to give them some credit as well. But for the most part, it just was a struggle to break through and to set up shop in the offensive zone. Didn't really see much of that. Certainly too little of that on Friday and throughout the entire weekend, especially on 5-on-5, I thought, all weekend long.
Yeah, that lack of 5-on-5 scoring is kind of a thorn over the weekend there for the Huskies, as they weren't able to capitalize on some of the opportunities that they had, and unfortunately able to come out on the short end there on Saturday. So we had Carrico being the goaltender of the weekend, I believe, is correct, what I saw for the WCHA Awards. So congratulations to her. And with that, who would you say is your POW?
She was under consideration just from the main point of, I believe this is just the second time in her career that she has started both games of a weekend, just once last year and now once this year. And obviously this year she's lost some time due to injury, so hasn't really had an opportunity to do that until this past weekend. And again, I wonder how that's gonna be played going forward, just at least immediately coming on the horizon here with this Minnesota State series. I would expect Karika to play on Friday. Saturday might be contingent on her performance on Friday, or, I don't know. This is your last game before the first half as well. So you got a lot of rest. It's not like we're in a back-to-back kind of, you're playing week in, week out here. Going to be a bit of a break for about a month after this weekend. So certainly did consider Karika for my POW. And plus the fact that you don't really get the opportunity to give her POWs because of the fact that it's mostly been a split duty for her. But I am going to go Sunderland instead. It's hard to not give it to the hat trick player. As mentioned, doesn't happen on the women's side too often. Hasn't happened on the men's side too often. We haven't had one this year for the men. And last year was not a great offensive showing for the men's. I'd like to see if you can do some research on the last men's hat trick, because I'm kind of curious. Hat tricks don't happen often, and certainly hat tricks that provide all the offense for the Huskies. 3 goals for Sunderland, and that's all that the Huskies score, not only in that game but the weekend, like I said. So, and like I said, Sunderland now with team leading points. She's had a good year. It might be a little bit under the radar. I mean, we've had other players step up. McCallian's had some standout moments as a freshman. I thought she had a quiet weekend this weekend. She's had weekends like that, especially against better competition where McCallian is sort of neutralized by the opponent. We've seen Sorial kind of take star status for games here and there. We saw, Laura Zimmerman had a really good weekend last week against Bemidji. So she might just be like, Sunderland might be overshadowed by individual performances here and there for a weekend or two. But I think throughout the season, she has been one of their more consistent players, if not making like highlight reel type plays. But this Colgate game, she made up for that, at least for turning the heads of the vaunted POW voters on this podcast, namely me and you. So I'm going to go Sophiana Sutherland for my POW. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's Occam's razor, and that is Sophiana Sutherland. And anytime that you score all of the goals on the weekend, I think also that kind of helps your chances for a POW. So, yeah, I do agree that I think just night in, night out, she's incredibly solid, and always a good competitor. And it was nice to see her get rewarded there again against Colgate. So she is mine as well. And I do think that, Krigo did incredibly well as well in that. So I do look forward to seeing her against Mankato coming up. Yeah, so I was able to see all-time hat tricks in the Division I era. The last one was on November 4th, 2023. Do you want to guess who that was on the men's side? Yeah, Emma Gentry was against Bemidji last year.
November 4th of 23.
And it was at home against Miami.
Okay. I mean, we would have podcasted about it.
Mm-hmm.
See, Kabi had a bad year his senior year. I'm not going to say him.
Okabe was the year before this
against
player.
North Dakota. Didn't he have a hat trick against North Dakota?
Yep, the natural hat trick.
Yep. Like the 7-2 game or something.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 7-2?
So, yeah.
I don't think Anhorn had a hat trick. No, Anhorn would have been on that team, but I don't think he had a hat trick.
No, actually, when I saw that, who had a hat trick for Duluth not too long ago? I looked to see when the last defenseman, because that was the last defenseman to have a hat trick for Minnesota Duluth since
that Hansen. He had a hat trick recently.
And that was the last defenseman, and I was kind of surprised that some of those defensemen for Minnesota Duluth hasn't had a hat trick. So I looked to see when the last defenseman to have a hat trick for St. Cloud State was, and that was Nick Jensen against Denver in 2011.
Okay.
So
I'm going to say
fun fact.
VD. This would have been a home series against Miami too.
Yep.
Because I went to the road series later that season in Miami.
VD never had a hat trick.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I'm blanking on whoever would have had a hat trick. Kubka?
Nope.
All right, just give it to me. It's bugging me now.
Joe Molinar.
Oh, that's right. And I think one of those goals was a Herbie nominee.
Was a Herbie nominee?
Not mistaken.
Yep, it was.
Was one of them an empty netter?
Ooh, that I don't know off the top of my head. So
because I think it was like a 6-1 game.
Hold music here.
But I might be getting that wrong. I think the Friday game was close and the Saturday game was a laugher, but it was kind of like one where St. Cloud pulled away at the end. It was closer, like coming into the third. And I'm thinking maybe Molinar had an empty netter there for his hat trick, but maybe not. I'm not sure.
He did not have an empty netter.
Okay, well, I apologize to shortchange Joe. It's not like I meant to cheapen the. I certainly didn't have a hat trick at the NCAA level. So, God,
yeah,
I mean, he was on the team like 2 years ago, and I don't know. We would have been here for 50 minutes. I don't think I would have come up.
Oh yeah, there's no way I would have. I'm like, now that it was mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. But it was like, there's no way Molinar.
Do you have his stats? What did he do last year in Duluth? How many points did he have? I don't think he had much of a year last year.
Well, he had so his 3 goals. But yeah, it was scoreless after the first, and then St. Cloud had 3 goals in the second, 3 goals in the third. And then he had the first goal in the second period, and then he had goals 4 and 6 in that last one, assisted by Mason Saltquist and Kyler Kupka on 18:32 of the third period. Doesn't say empty netter though. Minnesota Duluth, 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists, -8 on the season.
Dan Jacobson, email the show your thoughts on Joe Molinar's Bulldog career. I'm interested in that.
So it's
was that a 6-0 game or a 6-1 game?
6-0, 6 rip.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been an empty netter because I don't think Miami was bold enough to pull their goalie down 5 rip.
Down 5. Yeah, they were not. Bassey stood on his head, 15 saves in the shutout.
We can't joke about Miami anymore. Ranked team, Friendship 4 champions.
We got some hardware already.
Actually, I know that we're not technically in the men's segment yet. We're still going to do the women's preview here in a second. But now that we're on the topic, be weird if I went away from it and then came back to it. We both lost a bet this past weekend. This is a good one. On October 13th, when we recorded that show this year, what's that, 6 weeks ago and change? I set the over-under at Miami wins for this year at 9.5, and we both took the under. They just won their 10th game of the year in Northern Ireland, taking home that hardware. So we both lost, and we both lost that bet before December. So Miami is back, baby.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's a tough one.
I remember saying like, hey, they've got like RIT and the Friendship 4. They got some more cupcakes lined up here in their non-conference. But still, I'm like, nope, they're gonna fold like origami when it comes to the conference play. Nay.
No, yeah, it has not happened. So, let's get back to the women though. As we preview Minnesota State Mankato, the Screaming Eagles of Minnesota State. Now it's as you said, kind of a surprise when looking at the NPI. Obviously, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Ohio State overtook Wisconsin, by the way, which is a little bit of a shock.
I think that was the case last week, or maybe even 2 weeks ago. It's been most of the season, at least since NPI has become legit to look at. I'm putting that in quotes. We can maybe get to that later, but yeah, they've been top of the heap for a bit now, the Buckeyes.
So you have, Penn State sitting there with their 17-1 record, as well, sitting at third. Minnesota there at 4, Minnesota Duluth at 7, but then Minnesota State they're sitting at 10. Obviously the sweep of the Gophers in that home and home really definitely bolstered that, and then even St. Thomas there sitting at 17 over St. Cloud State at 21. And looking where we're at also in the standings, we're looking up at a lot of these teams. And this is where, some of those games that kind of slipped away from us, they're really coming back to bite you. And this is a series against Mankato that, if you're going to make hay in the WCHA, you're going to have to really, really take it to these opponents, and you got to come back with 6 points. Now I was, fairly confident, a couple of weeks ago that would have been the case, but all of a sudden it's a 4-game win streak for the Mavericks coming through. Like I said, against Minnesota, and then they just swept Dartmouth as well. So it's it's kind of a surprising turnaround, I would say, for Minnesota State. They've always, kind of been hanging around, and St. Cloud State has, maybe had a little bit too much trouble with them in the past, but, when we haven't been able to, get the offense going is under some of those Adulski teams where we're kind of stuck with that 1-0 2-1 type of game, but all of a sudden Minnesota State is coming through with Mercury Bischoff, freshman coming in, some Cy Young numbers, with 11 goals, 5 assists, 30% shooting percentage there. So she has been on an absolute tear on her freshman season, and bolstered again that Minnesota series where she had a hat trick, and against Dartmouth, those 2 games she had 4 points in those 2 games. So it's a big series for the Huskies, and these are games that you can't afford to drop if you're really going to make a push for the top half of the WCHA. And we'll see if they can do it, but it's going to be a much tougher battle than I expected that it would be a couple weeks ago.
Correct. Yeah, those NPI rankings. I think you left off Mankato. That's what you're going with that. They're right now at 10th.
Yep.
In NPI, and right now that would make that they would be the last at-large team in, because we've got both AHA and Penn State and a couple of Hockey East teams and a couple of ECAC teams also in that top 10. So
no love for the Nuha.
Well, they'd be slotted in there at 11th, but Minnesota State would be safe if the tournament ended today, which, newsflash, it does not.
It does.
We've got a lot of season left, but yeah, that's higher than I would have thought that Mankato is gonna be at any point in the season in NPI, and so yeah, got to take them seriously, and as a result, these games, wins against them, especially wins at Mankato, would be that much more valuable for St. Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're take the name Mankato off and just put generic opponent, top 10 team on the road. You kind of feel like a split is what you shoot for. Obviously, if St. Cloud has aspirations to make the tournament this year, you want to do better than that at some point. But generally speaking, top 10 team on the road, to expect more than a split could be somewhat greedy. Yeah, and it's interesting, the sort of the players that you mentioned, this Mercury Bischoff, who that is a Boise State name, if I've never heard one before. The great Boise State women's hockey team, Maple O'Shaughnessy being the true legend there. But I think Mercury Bischoff, she's got some transfer prospects if she wants to head out west. That's all I'm saying. But wasn't really doing much in her freshman year. It's been this last 2 weekends. I mean, 10 of her 16 points and 7 of her 11 goals have come in the last 2 weekends. You mentioned the hat trick against the Gophers being the most headline grabbing performance in those 2 weeks. It's more like their senior core coming back this year. And we mentioned when Huskies played St. Thomas earlier, the Gazdick twins were on Mankato last year, transferred to St. Thomas. That was, we thought, a big loss for them. Had some key losses in the transfer portal this year, but we're kind of looking at Taylor Otremba and Whitney Tuttle as being some of maybe their 2 top leaders this year. And they've kind of had a ho-hum first half here. So it's really been some surprising. So their second leading point scorer right now is Lauren Zawowski. Probably butchered that. But here's a player, 37 games last year, she had 1 point. She's got 15 already this year. So they're kind of being propped up by scoring from some unexpected sources, whereas maybe the usual suspects are more quiet than you'd expect. And that tells me that they're kind of bound to regress to the mean a little bit. I think that their goalie, Haley Hansen's pretty good. She's played well against the Huskies in the past, even though her numbers her first 2 years, overall weren't all that pretty. And even this year, a .917 save on the women's side isn't going to put you in any sort of award competition. I think she's probably a better goalie than those numbers would suggest. And you look at her game log this year, they were kind of going, and Mankato as a whole, and Hanson in particular, were kind of following the similar trajectory that they have in years past, where, they'll load up on a soft non-conference slate like they did this past week against Dartmouth, like they did earlier in the year against RPI and Lindenwood. But when they're facing the top WCHA teams, really kind of no contest. And we saw that shutout in 2 games at Wisconsin by a combined score of 12-0, getting swept at Duluth by a combined score of 8-1, getting swept at Ohio State by a combined score of 12-5. This was sort of like par for the course. We didn't really expect Mankato to do that. But then all of a sudden they sweep a home and home with the Gophers, which, I don't know. I'll venture it's not like I'm a women's Mankato women's hockey savant. I can't imagine that they've swept series against the Gophers all that much. Maybe the first time ever. I'd be willing to make that guess. But that seems to be what's turned their fortunes around, not only with the math and the NPI, but also in the WCHA standings, where they kind of occupy the spot where we thought the Huskies would be this year. This would be kind of one of those situations for the Huskies to play big sister against them. Be like, cute story with you guys in 5th place, and let's show you who's really in charge here. I'd love to see it. It just doesn't seem like the St. Cloud team so far this year has shown that kind of killer instinct. This would be one of those weekends that they could do that, and especially like ending the first half, which we've talked about. Go to any of our shows in the first half. You're frustrating how the record that this team has does not reflect accurately the talent and the quality of play that the Huskies have put forth this year. It's just the wins and losses are not there quite yet. This would be a good way to end what's been a frustrating first half on a high note, and then put yourself in the best position in the second half of the season to actually make a run, which they did last year. I was at the point last year in the second half, like, well, we'll just see how the rest of the year goes. Hopefully these players can finish out the year strong and maybe bring some momentum into the next year. And the next thing you blink, you win at Ritter. You're, the next game, you're right there with the Gophers with the chance to solidify what at that point was an at-large NPI spot. Similar situation where Mankato is now, just much later in the season. So we still got a long way to go in the season, a lot of hockey to go. This would be a good way to vault yourself into position even before the first half, or as the first half is closing and before the second half even starts. So it's an opportunity to assert yourself back into the conversation, because I think a team like Mankato has kind of maybe replaced St. Cloud as being maybe that fringe team in the WCHA that hasn't made a tournament yet. Maybe they can make some noise coming down the stretch. I think St. Cloud could say, pat them on the head and say, we'll take over from here. I'd love to see it. It's not like I'm confident in saying that. And like I said, if you're just taking the name Mankato off this weekend, and you're saying you're going into a top 10 team on the road, a split would be fine. What are you thinking? How many wins do you think that the Huskies are gonna get this weekend, and how many do you want, other than the obvious answer of 2?
In my head, well, I'll go with my heart first. Like in my heart, as I was going through a split plus, where
you're good with that. You're good with those. You've been successful with that kind of.
I have been
that kind of bet recently.
So, and like you said, it's we're a little bit more of an active team, a little bit so far, with the exception obviously of a couple of games, but I mean, even putting up 3 against Colgate, like just overall the offense has been there a lot more consistently this year than it has been in past years. And I do like the makeup of our team. I do also feel like some of these numbers that Mankato has put up are a little bit, like you said, they need to regress to the mean when it comes to it. And they're liable, or they're, they've been able to give up goals in bunches, and maybe this is kind of a weekend where if we get some momentum and carry through, I really do like our chances of getting a majority of the points this weekend. At the same token, I'm still nervous about our team being able to close games out in key situations. And to have so many games so far this year where we've had that third period lead and we coughed it up, it does make me nervous that, this is kind of St. Thomas 2.0, where we had that, sweep kind of in the bag, and we were able to falter and unfortunately ended up losing in overtime there. So it's I can kind of dub this the Moran Bowl, with the Moran sisters playing against each other for the first time.
I didn't even notice.
Yep, Marie Moran, obviously with the Huskies.
Michaela, yes,
and Michaela is a freshman for Mankato. So it's the Moran Bowl, and I wonder if Thanksgiving there was a little bit of chatter between the two about this coming weekend. Maybe they got some extra bets placed. We'll kind of see, but it's. It's one of those things like I think we have the talent, just obviously, game is played on ice, not on paper. And I just really want to see kind of that killer instinct from the Huskies that we're able to attack and get that 3 period effort, out of the Huskies for both games. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. Like you said a little bit earlier, I do expect Carrico, especially to start on Friday. I would like her to have both starts, because this is, looking up at top, like you said, clear out the name. Look at where they are in the NPI. Look at where they are in the standings. These are points that you have to make up, that you coughed up earlier this year. You got to put it as the best chance to win. At this moment, Carrico and net is your best chance to win, bar none. So I do think she needs to play. And then, you can work in some games with JoJo coming in the second half. And then obviously when Carrico is going to be out, and hopefully she can gain some confidence back. But, I don't think this is the weekend for JoJo to play. Maybe, we'll see what Yosuo kind of determines on that front. But, these are just massive points here on the table.
Agreed. And mentioning, there's no let off. Just looking ahead to the second half, I should say. You're starting off that second half, another gauntlet. Every weekend's a gauntlet in this conference, but you're starting off the second half. You've got the exhibition game at St. Thomas, not counting that, but you got Ohio State, Duluth, and the Gophers. Bing, bang, boom, right off the bat. Yeah. So is there going to be any, if Carrico plays like she did this weekend, and that's not to say that she, stood on her head, stole 2 wins. They split this weekend, but she plays something like that, where I don't falter at any of the goals that she gave up this past weekend. Just playing like that, I think just ride that, at least until the Olympics. And I wanted to bring that up because saw an article over the weekend that the facilities in Milan are a little dicey, perhaps. I don't know if you saw this. So they're built, they're under construction. The building that is going to host the ice hockey play is still getting built, and there's delays that they're encountering on that. And the article, I think the headline was that there's no plan B, whether or not, if this facility isn't completed on time, what they're going to do with that. I can't just imagine, and Bettman, and the quotes of Bettman being very angst-ridden about the whole situation, about especially the NHL, the first time in over a decade that they've sent players to the Olympics, and now we've got a potential facility snafu on our hands. I still think obviously the Olympics are going to go on, and players like Carrico and Sunderland and all the Zimmerman, the whole list, Urela, Carrico, Vogt. I think I'm missing one, but the batch of players of the Huskies are figuring to lose for the Olympics this year. I don't think that's going to change, but it changed my percentage of that. Like maybe there's like a 5% chance that somehow these Olympics are not going to go as planned. Or there's just like, yeah, we don't have a facility and we're going to scramble, and maybe the Olympics are some sort of watered down version that we thought. Then maybe all these players aren't actually sent to the Olympics. I don't think that's going to happen, but the seeing that article made me kind of chuckle, because, and maybe we'll have Jake, when we were thinking about having Jake Baskin on to preview the World Juniors, and him being sort of our international hockey correspondent, perhaps he has some more insight as to any effects that this Olympics might have on the fact that they might not have a building to play it at. We'll see, but I did want to bring that up because it's kind of like a classic hockey story. It's just like, oh, of course, going to finally go to the Olympics with the NHL again, and this happens. So always fun.
I feel like there's always, anytime these big events happen, there's always some kind of buildings that are past or the safety concerns, or they're not ready yet or anything like that. And eventually it all kind of works itself out and it's a non-story by the time the games start. I think I especially remember that, like when the World Cup was in Brazil or something like that, where like the stadiums weren't ready yet or something like that.
I wonder, because I remember the China Olympics in 2022. I don't know if they intended this, if this was like a design flaw, but the fact that they weren't playing the Olympic hockey on Olympic-sized ice, it's like, okay, with all like St. Cloud's finally getting its fat ice shrunk, but it's like they're literally not even playing Olympic hockey on at the Olympics anymore. So what are we doing with St. Cloud's fat ice? But I don't even know if that was like intentional, if that was like just a mistake. If they just didn't get the correct specs on how to build the rink to the certain dimensions. So who knows? Like if this building actually gets built, like I wouldn't be surprised if we're just playing on NHL sized ice. But so there's another thing. But it's always the Olympics in general always have these kind of snafus, complications. So interesting.
So I said split plus. Did you say split then? When it comes to it,
I mean, obviously the heart says sweep, but this is a team that hasn't swept since Lindenwood in September. They weren't able to sweep St. Thomas. They weren't able to sweep Bemidji.
Yeah.
Can I really think? And I think I'm on record throwing shade on Mankato's record. I don't think they're the 10th best team in the country. I might even think St. Cloud's a better team than them, but I just can't. I don't have. St. Cloud needs to have a weekend where they need to prove it a little bit. So I'm just going to go. The head says split. Heart says, give me a Mankato St. Cloud rivalry series that I'm sure that we see some intensity. And we see some Booze Bowl, Minskew kind of, Grady St. Cloud kind of feel to it. Like, bring it on. But, heads going split.
Do you think one of the Moran sisters are going to injure each other like the Hendricks brothers did?
Ooh.
Can we do a prop bet on that?
And that would be fun, actually. That would make their Christmas get together a little awkward.
Yep, exactly. I don't know what gifts will be exchanged there.
I don't know if I'll go on a prop bet there. That'd be quite a prop bet for you.
that would be what, like,
who's going to inflict it on who?
10,000 to 1 there, I think, if that one hits. So, I mean,
or how about like a penalty? Like if maybe that like one takes a penalty on the other. Like one sister trips the other.
I'd love to see it.
Body checking penalty.
Body checking penalty, right? Exactly. So, before we move over to the men's preview of North Dakota and the ticket giveaway, I do actually want to stay on the women for just 1 second because we have a Hamlin hockey update that I wanted to share real quickly. 7 games played. 7 games played for Grace Delmonico, 5 goals and 3 assists. So averaging over a point per game.
It's not a bad average.
So
we need a Jason Bryan. Can we do like a Hamlin or Delmonico steak update?
Yep.
Do something with a Delmonico steak.
Delmonico steak, and then the background is like Hamlin's fight song. I'm sure Hamlin has a fight song, right?
Do a little research there, Jason Bryant. Make sure it's a royalty-free version.
Yeah, we can't afford the DMCA. I got a new furnace to pay for. I can't afford DMCA.
I've been on record saying I will assume all DMCA violations. And
do you want to also assume all furnace payments for me?
No. You can take. Okay. You can handle the furnace payments. I'll handle the DMCA strikes.
That seems fair. So
deal.
Let's head to the ticket giveaway for the North Dakota game. We got a ticket to give away, and who is the lucky winner?
We have our winner. We've been in contact today to exchange the tickets. Congratulations to Brittany L. from Cold Spring. And she's going to she had said in her entry, date night for her husband and herself. So nothing says date night like a game against North Dakota.
Yeah, just exactly. Hopefully that date goes the right way. I do hope that these are Husky fans.
I did not ask. She has emailed. She has entered in previous
all right.
contests, which makes me think that she is not a dreaded North Dakota fan.
I'm worried about the kind of the divided household type, or maybe the one party is one team, the other party is the other team, and we're gonna have. I just don't want to cause any domestic disputes. But
this is true.
So
I feel like that I would be stepping over a boundary if I asked that. You listen to the show, and that's good enough for me.
That's good enough for us, and we appreciate it. And congratulations, enjoy the game, and I hope we have Husky victories to talk about. Please send us a picture from the seats, and we love to give back to the fans. So
absolutely.
So speaking of that, I suppose we got another game coming up here against Denver, don't we?
We do. We've got one the following Saturday. That's December 13th at 6 p.m. And we've got those same 2 tickets that we will give away here. It's Section 204, premium chair back seats. You get 2 tickets.
None of those pre-made butt seats,
or the bleacher seats with no backs on them. You get a quality seat,
premium chair back,
a quality sight line too to see all the action. And you're far away from the North Dakota fan section,
which is actually the real plus. So.
Correct. Now, this ticket giveaway against Denver, you don't have to worry about running into drunk traveling fans for Denver because they don't have
Denver's not going to travel there. Denver doesn't have fans. So
that means that we need more Huskies fans in the building, and this is a way to get 2 more of them in. Same as before, we'll have you email the show, the passcode, the email that you're going to want to send that passcode that I'm going to say here in a little bit, huskieshockeypodcast@gmail.com. I still haven't even thought about a passcode. So we got Denver coming up. What do you think about Denver? I'm thinking John Denver.
Okay. There we go.
What Rocky Mountain High? He says this, it's the state song of Colorado, but yet the big state that he says in the song is West Virginia, which is always kind of weird. Like when Denver plays it at Magnus in between like periods or whatever, and everybody sings along to it, kind of like it's like their version of Sweet Caroline. Everyone's like, West Virginia. It's like, they should change it to Colorado if it is their state song.
Yeah.
But
I mean, especially that they have Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
It's just, I don't know if it's the best song. It's Rocky Mountain High, but then he's talking about, I know they have mountains in West Virginia, but pick a mountain range here, John. Is it the Rockies or is it the Appalachians? You got to pick one because it's two different parts of the country. Anyway, we're going Rocky, ROCKY. Rocky is the passcode. And
all right,
you're going to want to email that passcode. Again, huskieshockeypodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to give you till Sunday, this Sunday, that's December 7th at noon Central. That's your deadline to send in the passcode. I will say, we had more response earlier in the season when we did this. I don't know what happened. We didn't get many entries to the North Dakota series, to the ticket giveaway, which surprised me.
Right.
As we'll talk about here in a little bit, we've got a top 14 NPI team on our hands here with St. Cloud State. This team, if the season ended today, would make the NCAA tournament. I know that might not be apparent based on our analysis week to week, but don't listen to us. Listen to the math.
Listen to the math. Yeah.
This is a competitive team, and these are huge games, not only this weekend, but the following weekend against Denver. Yeah. So please submit the passcode. Because again, if we're getting only a couple of entries for these ticket giveaways, we're not gonna renew the season ticket for next year just because there's not enough interest. I want there to be the kind of interest that we got when we first did this in October. So again, if you've entered before, please enter again. If you've won the contest before, you can still enter again. So we like to get feedback from all of our listeners. We like to see that there's entries because, again, this keeps this bit going. Because, again, if only a few people are entering the ticket giveaways, we'll find another way to kind of do something fun like this. But your interest and your feedback goes a long way to keeping something like this going. So please email the show. Again, it's huskieshockeypodcast@gmail.com and send in that passcode Rocky by this Sunday at 12 noon.
That's Rocky reminds me of Project Hail Mary, which I don't know if you've read that book, but
it's not ringing a bell.
It's going to be a movie. That
I'm going to guess based on the title. I'm going to say it's high school football related.
It is not.
Okay.
It is about outer space, and basically the sun is dying, and they send somebody up to investigate how there's one star that hasn't died, and they investigate why, and they meet up with an alien. And there's a lot of people and they name the alien Rocky, and there's a lot of people who are all really upset about the book, it's such a big reveal in the book, and the trailers gave away too much, and it's just no, Rocky is revealed in chapter 6. Well, it's not that. It's you can't really call it a spoiler if it's in the first 20% of the book, according to my Kindle. So anyway. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Project Hail Mary, by the way, fantastic audiobook. So you should listen to the audiobook. Highly recommend. A lot of fun. And then obviously I'm going to watch the movie because I'm pretty psyched for the movie.
Hear me out though, for a Disney movie, Catholic school, Catholic high school.
Okay. No, already no.
A nun.
Double no.
Nun is the main character.
Okay.
And the morale around the school is lagging, and they need something, and they haven't had a football team. It was disbanded many years ago. It was disbanded because of the priest, the evil priest who cut it.
Okay.
And said that football is...
And then Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yep. Okay.
So the nun, who knows nothing about football, brushes up. She becomes the coach of this football team.
Okay.
And the whole thing is we've got to do this Hail Mary. They do the rosary in the huddle. That's part that's in the trailer.
All right. I was wondering when it was all going to connect. Got it. Okay.
Yep. And they go on a run and they make it to the Catholic Bowl. This could be a good, you have to get a lot of like Catholic money involved to finance this thing.
Sure.
And you'd probably have to tamp the evil priest angle that I just brought up.
Probably.
Soften that up a little bit. But you've got the uplifting story about the nun, and the football is a crowd pleaser. I think you might have something, and you could call it the same thing, Project Hail Mary. Done.
Oh, there you go. And then another twist that the nun actually would be played by Sally Field. So
that's good. And that could be like a late career Oscar push for her, like her going for number 3. And that'd be one where she'd be like, you really, really, really like me now. Yeah. I think you really like me.
And then there's a line there right at the end, and it's like something about, man, that nun can really fly, or something like that has to kind of drive that home.
Oh, that's right. So. The flying nun. God, it's finally, jeez.
And that's where I was going with that reference. For all of the young people who are wondering what the heck, the Flying Nun was a
show that went that started and ended well before our births.
Late 60s, ran for like 2 or 3 seasons.
Flying Nun is not the first thing at the top of my head when I think of Sally Field.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it Smokey and the Bandit?
Probably. I was going to say Smokey, probably. Or You Really Like Me, You Really Like Me, which again, she said that the second time she won an Oscar. Yeah. Wouldn't that have been the first time? But no, this is the second time. You really
like me. So it's the really aspect is number 2. It's like, you like me, you really like me. Because I got a second.
But it's also, I don't think she ever was nominated and didn't win. This isn't like a Susan Lucci situation where she got snubbed time and time again. I think she was literally nominated twice and won both times. At least to that point. I don't know. I think she got nominated for Forrest Gump. I think she's gotten nominated since then. But now that she's got 2, I think it's difficult for her to win a third. It's not like she's Meryl Streep here. Good actress. But I don't think she's like a generational talent. Sorry, Sally.
Well, now that we have the screenplay already set out for Project Hail Mary 2.0.
It's funny you brought up Sally Field because I actually kind of had Meryl Streep in mind because she played the nun in Doubt. So,
okay.
But yet she refused to be typecast.
Yeah. So
I think she could do a nun again.
Yeah, none again. But at any rate, before all this, I was going to guess that you're going to go with Annie as the passcode, instead of Rocky, because it was Annie's song.
Now I get the reference.
And then I thought about making a joke, like maybe like Monterey Bay, being the
is that another John Denver song? I basically got the 2
John Denver songs. that was where his plane crashed. So that's a little bit more morbid.
A little.
So
funny. Rocky and Annie are also the names of films that are not related to John Denver at all. Got the one about the boxer, and then one about the kid in the Depression, the musical,
and then Woody Allen.
Annie Hall, correct. But I'm more talking about Annie, the Hard Knock Life.
Have Anthony Michael Hall or Michael C. Hall. And then you got a whole
keep going. You're on a roll.
Barrett Hall, so you've got a whole bunch of halls.
It was Barrett with the lead pipe in the hall.
In the hall.
Clue for the win.
So, and at any rate, I think we went a little bit.
This is why we don't have people enter the contest. They have long since switched off the podcast.
It's like, why are they talking about
we should just front load it to the very,
flying
to the very
nun.
beginning. Oh, it started well before. It started with me pitching a Disney film, for F's sake.
Well, to be fair, it started with me talking about Project Hail Mary because of Rocky.
I think it's beautiful, the jazz of our show, but
hey, I like
the numbers need to respond to the jazz.
Need to approve. but I do say listen to Project Hail Mary. Go on, just rent
Better
the
yet,
audiobook.
read it hardcover, hard
No.
copy.
No,
Yes,
you got to do the audiobook.
I'm a stickler for it. I think the more that I think of, I think you brought this up a couple weeks ago. I'm more purist when it comes to books. Get the actual books.
I can see your point, and I think it's just like with the production value that some audiobooks bring to the table, because there's a lot of other performances that I'm like, I'd rather eyeball read this, but like Project Hail Mary and like Dungeon Crawler Carl, like that audiobook performance like really grabs you.
Are they putting like sound effects in the background? Like you make it seem like it's a big, like a radio show almost.
I mean, I
thought it was just someone reading it into a mic, and that was it.
I mean, it is, but like the inflection and how you read it, it can determine a whole ton of the immersiveness of it. Oh. So that's where
I'm really not that.
And like the voices of the characters as well that kind of get into it. And yeah, there's some sound effects that go into really both of them. And I mean, I can rant about, I can love Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's a genre I never thought I would get into, but it was that one. Also the audiobook, fantastic. So highly recommend both those, but let's get back to hockey, shall we? So anyway, the infamous fish story. So let's go back here. 2 massive weekends here. NPI, St. Cloud State, ranked 14th. How? I don't know. But apparently it has to do with our overtime losses, doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Because, even though we're 7-7 on the season, technically 7-4-3. And maybe Brett Larson and his overtime philosophy is doing some lifting right now. I don't know. I don't fully understand the new math, but here we're at. We're on the bubble right now when it comes to past Thanksgiving. If that old adage kind of stays the same, I don't know. With where Dartmouth is, I can't explain that either. But anyway, we have North Dakota on the horizon. North Dakota has had a strong season so far, 10-4 record. And really bolstered by some of the people that they've gotten from from major juniors, and also from Ben Strinden's kind of surgeons. I would say, he's put up a pretty good point, 12 points his sophomore year, 16 points his junior year, but his senior year, 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points already on the season, and has just been on an absolute tear. And then obviously you've got some incredibly talented players kind of up and down the lineup when it comes to North Dakota that you're going to have to contend with. Probably one of the deeper teams that we're going to see throughout the season, and it's going to be kind of a tough task for St. Cloud State. And if we're going to kind of make some noise, that this is kind of the weekend to do it, and kind of get some good momentum here as we continue on this season. So what are you looking for the Huskies as we're up against North Dakota here at home?
Yeah, obviously always a difficult test playing these guys. But yeah, building should be lubed up, especially on that Saturday night. Probably will be the best crowd of the year. I would assume so. And this seems like a pretty darn good North Dakota team, at least better than like last year's team, and the last couple of Bradbury years were not as great. And there was a lot of players from those same teams, but some good freshman contributions this year, notably with Keaton Verhoff, who's gonna be a top 2 or 3 pick in next summer's draft. There's some chatter that he might even go higher than McKenna. but we'll see how that shakes out. But he is the youngest player in NCAA this year. That Morozov, slightly older than him, but we just saw him with Miami. Verhoff, even a little bit younger than him. So Cole Reshney, another one of these freshmen, first-round draft pick. He's putting up a solid point per game pace so far in his freshman season. Will Zellers, another freshman standout. This freshman class that they brought in, and I think you can have the argument, is this Dane Jackson working his magic? Would they have gotten these guys if Barry was still there? Keep in mind that Jackson would still be there himself if Barry was there. I'm sure that Jackson would still be his number 2 if Barry was still the coach. I'm not. It's still too early for me to assess whether or not this like goes, especially in the check mark of this is why you fired Barry and hired Jackson, because I'm not sure which guys would be here with Jackson only, and if they would have been turned off if Barry was still there. But that we might never know the answer to that. But they're getting scoring not only from these high-end freshmen, but as you mentioned, it's Ben Strinden, who kind of has come out of nowhere to put up this kind of season that he's had this year. This guy like Max Swanson, who kind of had a disappointing first year. He's a huge USHL scorer, kind of struggled last year, but making up for it now this year, 11 points in 14 games. I think the most important development for them is goaltending, because they've done this thing the last several seasons. I mean, the last 4 Barry years, they went with a transfer portal goalie each year. Zach Driscoll was one. Septenfelter last year was another. They made the tournament with some of these goalies. What was the Person from Miami, who was like especially overhyped when he came in. They made the tournament with him though, putting up fairly average numbers. Well, they did the same thing this year. They bring in Gibson Homer, also from ASU. So that's 2 years in a row they bring in a Sun Devils transfer goalie. And he was sort of brought in as the presumptive starter and started the year sort of as the every game starter. But the last couple of weeks, he's given away to Jan Spunar, who's a freshman goalie. So kind of like their first recruited goalie that they've really given a long look to in a while. And 6-0 with a .934 save, and started and won both of these games against Bemidji this past weekend, where they won 2 games, one in overtime. We always hesitate to say a sweep in a situation like that. We sort of reserve that for 2 regulation wins on the weekend. But
real sweeps.
Yeah. So Spunar, at least right now, is the hot hand. It's similar to like the Berzins Showstack situation, where you've got a disparity of about, it's .934 save to .882 between the 2 goalies. Spunar with the edge over Homer right now. And so I don't know if we should expect Spunar to play both games. I would at least expect him to start on Friday, similar to kind of the situation that St. Cloud's in, where I would expect Berzins to start on Friday. Wouldn't say that he necessarily has both games locked down no matter what. I think if he turns in a clunker on Friday, we should probably expect Showstack, but puts in a good start on Friday. I don't think that there was a reason to go away from that. North Dakota might be in that similar situation as well, just kind of riding that hot hand at this point. So I don't know. This is a team right now, North Dakota, that's, again, we've seen plenty of great North Dakota teams in the past. I don't know exactly where this one stacks up. It's still early in the season, and this is a youth-driven team, as it turns out at this point, even in net, which maybe was not as expected as it was when it comes to these high-end WHL season guys like Verhoff and Reshney in particular, but all the other freshmen that they brought in. There was a lot of youth here on this team, but they're looking pretty good right now. This is going to be a test for St. Cloud for sure. What are you thinking about this? I mean, it's a home series. St. Cloud's look good on home ice this year. This is always sort of a series historically that's been prone to splits with St. Cloud hosted series between these two teams. So that probably is my inclination. Again, our Saturday record at home seems to be better than the Friday record. Is it that easy to say North Dakota wins Friday, St. Cloud loses Saturday? Give me an argument to go against that, because that's what I'm going to go with right now. It's just my gut.
The one thing that kind of sticks out to me with North Dakota is that I feel that this team is a lot better defensively, as far as like their depth goes.
We haven't even mentioned Livanovich.
Yeah, I mean, Livanovich has been, a stud, ever since he entered the league, and has been really a big thorn in our side. Like you've talked about, Verhoff has really come along and has not missed a beat. Playing in college hockey, and then obviously I have a little bit of a panic that he, his birth date is after I graduated college, which is
no, that's right. That I should say. So Morozov is the youngest. Verhoff is the first player after we graduated college to have been born to play NCAA hockey, because he's got like 2 months on Morozov. So I screwed that up earlier, but Verhoff's in that same mold of 2008 summer birth, which makes us feel very old.
Yep, exactly. So, and then even like EJ Emery, who has kind of flown maybe a little bit under the radar, but I've always liked his game every time. So it's,
and he was named to the World Juniors, at least the preliminary roster again.
Mm-hmm.
Or was he passed over? I think he was one of their last cuts last year.
I think so. Yeah.
But I believe I saw on that list that he was included on Team USA's roster, which had some interesting calls, I will say. Yeah. But Emery was part of that group.
Yeah. So it's, both teams kind of have the same type of MO when it comes to special teams. Power play is clipping along. They're at 28.6%. St. Cloud's at 31.3 currently. Penalty kill 79.2 for North Dakota, 74%. So I think special teams are going to make a big role here this weekend, and hopefully we can use really the advantage of being on home ice to make to kind of tilt that in our favor. I just, against the strong team, I would really love to see just a consistent effort out of this Huskies team. This isn't an opponent where you can take a long stretch off, or you've got, like a 10-minute stretch where you don't play as well, because at that time, North Dakota can turn the tables and they can, all of a sudden put up 2 or 3 on you. Yeah, some splits are nice, but I just, for some reason, I feel that this is going to be kind of a weekend where St. Cloud's going to get an overtime result and nothing more. So I think it's going to be an issue where, we lose on Friday and then we take it to overtime on Saturday. Judging by our overtime record, I don't think it bodes very well, but our last victory over North Dakota, March of 2023. So we've gone 6 games here without a happy result for St. Cloud State. Granted, that one I believe ended North Dakota's season, did it not? But with Okabe's game-winning goal there in the
they haven't beaten them since then.
No.
Yeah.
So it's, but we've had some ties in there. So I mean, hooray, I guess. But that's kind of that's maybe why it's a little bit jaded here, and what I'm thinking of that. A little bit worried that I just don't know if we have that consistent of an effort, and with our defense playing as leaky as it have been, I'd be happy with a split. But a little bit, I guess I'm a little bit, I'm not that confident that we're going to actually get it, sadly.
I think I guess I'm more confident than you, but I wouldn't think more than a split. So I'll go with my original and say Nodak wins on Friday and St. Cloud comes back on Saturday. Yeah, I didn't realize it's kind of a sneaky 6-game slide, or at least 3-0-3, 3 ties in there, or was it 2 ties and 1 overtime loss?
Yeah,
it hasn't been like a clean 6 wins, but yeah, that was a good memory. St. Cloud beating them in overtime with the Okabe.
Right, yeah, that Okabe goal was nice, that's for sure. But North Dakota also is not, they've been kind of prone to a little bit of clunkers as well. They have 5-2 win against Minnesota, then ended up losing 5-1 the next night, and then a 2-5 loss against Clarkson, only a 1-0 win the next night. Arizona State 5-2 win, 4-2 loss. But also even, Bemidji, we've seen that in 5-3 victory, but then 2-1 overtime. It took an overtime power play for them to get the victory there. So it's I'm not saying it's impossible by any stretch. I think St. Cloud has the goal scoring and the ability. It's just we got to definitely tighten up on defense, and we got to tighten up on the special teams, because if this turns into a physical bout with a lot of power plays, it's going to be hard for our power play to keep up with our inability to stop combined with their power play. It's that's really the thing that I worry about. And that's kind of what we're looking for St. Cloud State. And that's what I'm, that's going to be kind of the key to the game. I expect
heading to one of these games or both.
I am planning on it. However, this weekend is going to be a little bit tricky because of different schedules with my wife and the kids and everything, juggling all of that around. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take in Saturday's game. I'm going to see what I can do to try to get there, but it's might be a little bit of a stretch. Commitments. Ugh.
Well, plus, if you already had tickets, you might need to burn them in order to gain some heat in the house. Like you're desperate for some heat,
right?
You wouldn't want to do that, though.
No, I wouldn't. I would go to it and then have some ice cream. I'd have some Jupiter Moon ice cream there at the National Hockey Center, and then
you're an ice cream and winter guy.
I'm a Jupiter Moon ice cream anytime.
You're a year-round ice cream guy. It's no bad time to have ice cream.
I was at after one of the hockey games that my daughter had for the Might Turkey Trot Jamboree in Elk River. I think it was the Barn Burner or something. I like Turkey Trot anyway. We went to Culver's, and just as I was sitting there, just watching the cars kind of go by, just line after line of just people getting custard, and snow was falling down and everything along those lines. And I'm like, a lot of frozen custard being sold here, and roads are slick and not that good. Minnesotans, they don't really care. It reminded me of Tracy Clay's back in the day when he was on the staff, and there was a blizzard at TCF, before Huntington Bank, and it was like coming out of a TV timeout or end of quarter or whatnot, and he's just, snow's flying, he's turned around, he's just chomping on a dilly bar. It's like, yeah, I don't think you can see like anything more Minnesotan than that. Is just Tracy Clay's in a snowstorm, just chomping on a dilly bar. but it's anyway, yeah, warm up the house. That would be nice, but I don't think I would burn St. Cloud UND tickets to do so, because I would definitely go to that game. And now, congratulations to Brittany that has the ability to go to that game. So you enjoy.
Correct. And you could be next by going to the Denver games if you submit the passcode.
Exactly. So, questions. Do you have favorite UND SCSU hockey memory? Brandon Kramer.
The Okabe game winner. We just mentioned that one. I mean, that's got to be on the list somewhere. You would have been in the building for the 01 Final Five championship, correct?
Yes, I was.
So I was not. It even predated my Husky fandom. Do you have a good story about that game? Or is that a good memory? I don't want to lead you to one way. But.
That actually is like jump started me being a Husky fan, and that team watching that game, and it was an exciting game, and really the game before that too, because the game before that was Minnesota against St. Cloud State, and St. Cloud State won, I think 3-0. But Arneson's shot went through the net that game. Remember, I think Jeff Finger was actually in the penalty box, and Arneson, shorthanded goal through the net. Light went on, but play continued for about, I don't know, a minute and a half or so. Penalty expired. So Jeff Finger got out of the box. Stoppage of play. They went back, reviewed it, called it a goal on the ice, had to reset the clock, but also had to put Jeff Finger back into the penalty box because the penalty would still go. I don't think I've ever seen that since, that they had to put somebody back in the penalty box because a goal was awarded. So you already killed off the penalty, but you have to put time back on it. But yeah, that game with Lumbaum, Panzer, and Beta on that same line, that was, named at that time as the line of fire. And it was, Huskies were up, I think 5-3 in the third period, and Dean Blaze sat them, sat them for the first part of the third period, and then just essentially just double shifted them the rest of the game. And they were able to come back 5-5. And then Huskies were able to get the game winner there in overtime, 6-5 victory. And that was, I just remember the atmosphere in that arena was really exciting. And a lot of that WCHA, the atmosphere in those games were just absolutely incredible in the final 5 days.
And that would that have been the first one at the X?
Yes.
The first Final Five?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going through the year-by-year results. One that sticks out to me would have been the 2012-2013 season, which I went to that series at the Ralph. This would have been the first. I mean, I had been to Mariucci games, St. Cloud Gopher games at Mariucci before, but this was the first traveling trip, certainly to North Dakota, for a Husky game. And I think it might have been my first kind of official Husky weekend road trip. And St. Cloud won on Friday, tied on Saturday. And this was the year that St. Cloud ended up winning the WCHA regular season title. And I'm not even saying tie. Thanks, Patolny. But then going to the Frozen Four, LeBlas, Hobie Baker year. But that one was a fun weekend. I mean, it's kind of where my obsession kicked into another gear.
Sure.
So I'll always remember that. And I've been up there a couple of times since then. I even went to, they had a U18 or U7. No, was it U18s? I still have the t-shirt. That was in 2016 that they played that at the Ralph. So I've seen some international hockey there as well. But that 2012, 2013, it was actually January of 13 that I would have went up there. Those are some fun fun games. They're all, I mean, if you've never been to the Ralph, do yourself a favor and try to get some tickets there, because it is a college hockey, I think, a must, especially if you're a northern or like an upper Midwest person of any, if you're living in that area, make the trek if you can get tickets. But yeah, I mean, surprising. They've only played the one game in the NCAAs, which was a regional final in 2015. But as you're mentioning, that Final Five in 2001, they played Final Five title games also in 2010, which was an interesting game. That was the game that St. Cloud scored twice in the first minute, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then North Dakota came back. I mean, they tied it within like the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, they tied it by the end of the first, and then it was. I mean, that team also was loaded.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the 06
Christo
as well. That was,
and Van de Velde, and that was
06 as well. They played the title game. That was the day after the 8-7 game for St. Cloud. That one, and St. Cloud needed that to get into the tournament, and this was not to be. So they've played a lot of key games, championship type games. Frozen Four on the line or WCHA tournament titles on the line. They played a NCHC title game in Grand Forks in the COVID year. That was a good game, even though North Dakota won. That was a competitive game. They played good games that year. They played a really good game in the pod in Omaha that year as well. So they've always played decent games. There's been the random rout here and there. I will always remember the 8-1 game that North Dakota spanked the Huskies at the Herb, because I left that game in the third period, which I never left games. I think that was the only one that I ever left early. But St. Cloud's returned the favor as well. They've won some lopsided games against St. Cloud.
They won an 8-1 game as well.
I mean, that Okabe game that we were mentioning earlier was a 7-2 game. I'll remember the 6-1 game that St. Cloud beat them in 2015. That was the year that North Dakota won their last title. St. Cloud beat them handily. At the game before that, North Dakota won 4-3, was another one of those back and forth, very tightly fought games. St. Cloud could have easily won both of those games that weekend. So I'm sure it's one of these things where I bet St. Cloud fans think there's more of a rivalry than North Dakota fans consider St. Cloud a rival, because North Dakota's got the Gophers. They have Denver probably higher on the list of their rivals. St. Cloud probably considers North Dakota more of a rival, just because other than the Gophers, this probably is number one. Who knows, like, where Duluth would fit for both schools as well in terms of their relationship with that, in terms of rivalry. But at least, I mean, call it a rivalry or not, these are two teams that are generally pretty even, and they put on a pretty good show whenever they meet up. So I'm excited to watch this series, because we're mentioning NPI and where St. Cloud, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Like, how much do you take stock into St. Cloud's 14th in NPI rating? It is still early, but we're after Thanksgiving, so it's not that early. Like, if anything, this elevates the profile of the series, because North Dakota is even higher. They're more solidified. Top five. What was their rating here? Right now, they're 7th in NPI. So, I mean, 7th versus 14th in NPI matchup in December here. I would have surprised me. I don't typically check NPI before Thanksgiving, so I was a little surprised when I saw that come out this weekend. How much stock are you putting into that, especially for St. Cloud's then, but also North Dakota, the whole kind of NPI in general? Like, why are we believing it now that it's after Thanksgiving?
I mean, there's just so many glaring things that I look at as, like, would you consider St. Cloud State being the 14th best team? Like, which do you believe more? We're the 14th best team, or Mankato is the 10th in women's best team? And I think
would I believe more?
Well, like, I think there's just some similarities there. It's like there's some bad results.
That's a good question.
St. Cloud's. There's some bad results on St. Cloud State's side that is just kind of jading me a little bit. And also ability. Like you compare like defensive core from the Huskies to some of these other teams that are near there. It's just like I just don't see how we compete when it comes to it. So that's just what I kind of worry about, and I'd love to be proven wrong. Nothing would excite me more than to see me be wrong about that. So that's where I don't feel like we're a bubble team. I feel like we're a little bit further out, but like I'm happy to see us scoring goals at a much better clip, and hopefully that continues against North Dakota, because I do think that if you have that ability to where at least you're scoring goals, you're putting up points, I think that you can obviously never be counted out.
Yeah, and in terms of like what we think are bad losses, like St. Thomas, the 2 to St. Thomas. And then we got
Vermont.
We got overtime losses to Vermont and Miami. Well, I mean, St. Thomas right now is 18th in NPI. So that doesn't look like a bad loss. I mean, it's not like St. Thomas is number 1, but they're not. I think St. Thomas is bloated in their NPI. I don't think they're going to end up in 18th, even close to that. I don't think. Same with Miami, which again, we can be wrong about them all season. We probably will. We might be wrong with them all season. I really don't think they're going to stick at 17th in the NPI. So once those 2 teams in particular drop, specifically to St. Thomas, because it's likely that overtime losses don't hurt you as much as perhaps we're thinking. I still think that doesn't excuse coaching decisions in overtime. You still want to win the overtimes. But the fact that you at least got to overtime gives you some benefit. So the fact that Vermont right now at 52nd in NPI, the fact that you lost to them at home in overtime is not helping. But I do think that St. Cloud's is a little bit inflated right now because of the fact that Miami and St. Thomas are also inflated. Like Lindenwood at 19th, that's not going to last. So, I mean, it still is early, and because this is the first year that we're in this NPI rather than pairwise, I'm more skeptical because I don't know if it takes NPI a little bit longer to solidify than it did for pairwise. But there's a lot of interesting things in this current NPI that I'm looking, like the top 20 that I'm looking at right now, that I still think it needs to smooth out a little bit. So from St. Cloud's perspective, this doesn't change the equation at all. You still want it. You still need to win games. This doesn't mean this shouldn't be like a validation of everything that they've done so far this year. I hope that that's not the case. These next 2 weekends, if we're in traditional pairwise mode, I mean, North Dakota's 7th, Denver's 5th right now in NPI. Typically, you split series against those 2 teams, you're doing just fine. You'll probably move from 14th if you split. If you go 2-2 in these next 2 weeks, that's even without not doing anything about the other teams that are around you. I still think that whatever all the other teams that surround you in NPI, however they do the next 2 weeks, you go 2-2 against those 2 teams, you'll probably bump up at least a couple of spots. If you go 3-1, you'll probably make a good amount of movement upwards in the NPI. So, and those wins are, like Lindenwood, I'm sure is 19th, mainly on the strength of them beating Denver in regulation earlier this year. That's doing most of their heavy lifting, I would imagine. Again, I don't know the math. I didn't know the math about pairwise all that well. I know less about NPI's math, but the point is, I think that there's still a long season to go. IVs is still not played nearly as many games as everybody else. Once Dartmouth loses a game, that might cause the NPI to jumble a little bit. Cornell also is in the mix here, and they've played only 9 games compared to most other teams like St. Cloud has played 14, 15, 16 games. So it is still a little bit early. Perhaps maybe the start of the year we'll have a little bit more data. But hey, it's as you said, I'd rather be 14th than a lower than 14th. We'll take it for now, but yeah, we're going to need a lot more wins, and we've also got to wonder too. I mean, we've almost got to bake into the equation a second half slide of some sort for St. Cloud,
right?
Like the 2023 tournament, which was the last tournament that St. Cloud made, that had a second half slide, especially after Anhorn got hurt. But they entered that second half, I think, top 3 or 4 in the country, and then they slid till like 7th or so, and that was after their second half slide. The other seasons that they've made the tournament in this era of second half funks, you're not going to be safe going into the second half at 14th. If we are going to expect a dip in the second half, which again, maybe we shouldn't expect that, but right now it's the history that Larson has to disprove going forward. So that's another reason why these next 2 weeks just give you a great opportunity. If you're able to, come out of this 4-game stretch with a winning record in the 4 games, I'll go into the second half like we're going to have a pick the field show beginning of January. You go 3-1 in this stretch, you're going to be higher than 14th, and I might have to pick St. Cloud State to make that field. Like it changes the dynamics, but easier said than done. These are going to be two tough weekends, and let's take them one at a time. Let's hope we can do the job here against North Dakota.
Who do you think Dartmouth loses to? They've got Brown, Yale, Army, New Hampshire coming up. So not exactly a gauntlet. Then they've got 2 games against Arizona State,
who doesn't look that hot either.
Oh, that's true.
And 5 of those 6 games are at home too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're going to run the table for 2025?
No.
Who do you think they're going to lose to?
Well, according to an USCHO voter, they're going to lose to Brown. Clearly.
I think they'll retain their perfect record after this weekend. I think they'll lose the New Hampshire game.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose the Yale.
St. Cloud might want that because that might boost Yale's numbers heading into the Cactus Cup.
There we go.
When St. Cloud plays them, might make that matchup more favorable than I may have thought coming into the season. Mankato too. I mean, they've got a 10-2-4 record, but I don't really. I mean, that's gonna. I want to see Mankato in the Cactus Cup. If we're talking about NPI prospects, you want to play high ranked teams that you think you can beat. I think St. Cloud can beat Mankato because again, I don't think that they're going to have Tracy available that weekend because he can play in the Spengler Cup. So St. Cloud can play Mankato, and Mankato is going to be ranked around 5th, let's say, in NPI. I'll take that. I like that idea, but that depends on a couple of factors, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But I'll say that Dartmouth. I'll say they dropped their first game against New Hampshire.
Yali, I think they're gonna end up dropping. So, next question. Kind of talked about it a little bit, but are we booking on another second half slide here for the Huskies, or do you think this is the year where everything kind of gets bucked? They're gonna buck the trend here.
I sure hope. I mean, what's that second half schedule? We mentioned the Cactus Cup.
Yeah.
But then
at Omaha, Minnesota Duluth at home, at Denver, Miami at home. That's January.
And that's in January.
Then at Arizona State, Colorado College, at North Dakota. It's weird having the last regular season game February 21st. But such is the new NCHC, the new national.
I didn't even think
national.
And it's such you're going to get whiplash here, but we're just talking about St. Cloud at 14th in NPI. If they finish in 9th place, their season will end on February 22nd. Because they have the bye week, and then if they're 9th, they don't play a first round playoff series.
Oh, sure enough.
So there's a chance that they don't even get to March.
Which
would be that's one way to avoid a full second half slide, is to not play any games in March. But we don't want to think about that.
You don't have to edit that. Includes
again,
0 games because you were.
I mean, just looking at that, I feel like that's a favorable schedule in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you got Duluth, Denver, and North Dakota. Those are your 3 of the top 4 teams right now. But then all the other series.
Omaha hasn't been that inspiring.
St. Cloud's always struggled down there too, though. Like, I can't say, oh, well, Omaha's bad, so we're going to sweep them. When's the last time they've swept them in Omaha? 2019? It's been a while. Yeah, I actually checked in on that this weekend. Omaha at Yale, because when are you ever going to see that matchup? Ever. Split that series, of course. So Omaha's a weird
Yale's
team.
taking down Dartmouth. Book it.
I don't know when you got on the Yale train.
15 minutes ago?
You were so upset when Yale rejected you after you applied in your college, when you're applying for colleges. They don't want me. I don't want them.
So upset. I was perturbed. I mean, I don't know. So I decided to go to Harvard of the Midwest instead of the Yale of the East.
And to be fair, Yale was your safety school.
It was my safety
St. Cloud was your number 1.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Once you got into your number 1, then you're like, well, I don't need to get into the safety school anyway.
And that was because of the 2001 victory over North Dakota. So
correct.
All full circle. So last question from Dan Jacobson. Am I getting Metroid Prime 4? And Andrew is removing his headset right now.
Oh no,
he
it's just
does
adjusting.
not care about the video game chatter.
Oh, I am riveted.
Yes, I have Metroid Prime 4 pre-ordered. I have been waiting for Metroid Prime 4 since it was announced back when my wife and I were dating still. We weren't even married yet when the announcement came. She remembers the day the announcement came and how excited I was that Metroid Prime 4 was in development. And then years later, they scrapped development and said, hey, we're starting over. And then many years of nothing. And then COVID pushed it back, I assume. But we are finally here December 4th that I'll be able to play the next 3D installment of Metroid. I've loved Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 with different varying levels. Obviously, Metroid Prime 1 is the best. 2 and then 3. Motion controls are a little bit much, but I'm excited. A little bit worried some of the choices, but I think if the core gameplay is going to be there for the Metroid series, I'm stoked for it. So I will be playing that quite a bit here when it comes out. A lot of free time will be spent on playing that.
Very nice.
So exactly. Do you have any video game hot takes you want to spout off here before we wrap up the show?
Really don't. It's
do you ever get into video games? Is that nothing you really found interesting?
Here and there. I can list off the games that I've played probably on 2 hands. Okay. And I have a PlayStation 3. That should give you an idea of how up to date I am. I have the PlayStation 3 and it's not even plugged in. So that should give you another reason of how much I'm keeping abreast of the video
games
developments.
Sure. Yeah, sure enough. Well, having kids is a little bit put a little damper on the whole video game aspect, except Luke does like playing Mario Kart. So I've been playing with him, and every once in a while Clara will join, and then I'll play with Clara, and then she'll talk about how good she is, and then I just plummet her with shells, and she gets so mad. And I'm like, you come at the king, you best not miss. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll let you win at a lot of things. I'm not going to let you win at Mario Kart or Smash Brothers. Like, I'm sorry. That's just not in my DNA. You're going to get brought down. You're going to get humble pie. So,
kind of like my books versus audio book topic. Introduce them to some board games. Clue is a marvelous game, and I think that
marvelous
Clara
movie too.
It is a great movie. Clara, I think, would take to Clue quite well. I think, knowing Clara, I think she would really get into it.
I think she would get into Clue. I think that's a good point. I think maybe Clue would be.
Do you do board games? I can't even remember, like, how do you actually play Clue? I get the premise, like you got the cards, you got the weapon, you got the room, you got the suspect. I don't know exactly how
that's it. That's how you play. You described how to play Clue.
So
you go to.
But do you play some actual like tabletop games?
No. And that's actually, like, I come from a big board game, card game playing family. Like, we get together, my side of the family loves to play those types of games. And we just haven't been able to, because the patience of her trying to learn the rules, and then not only that, but like not turning it into a joke and like goofing off and like, no, this is how you play. This is,
you're talking about Clara, or are you talking about Teresa right now? Because this kind of sounds like a little bit of Teresa.
Definitely Clara. No, not really a Teresa. Teresa gets super competitive though, especially when it comes down to Yahtzee. She definitely doesn't like to use Yahtzee. So, but every once in a while, there's a card game called Munchkin that I really like, that I try to get the kids to play. And Clara's played it a couple times with me, and she seemed to really like that. Munchkin's a really fun game. And then I've also tried to play like the Pokemon card game, which is actually a pretty fun card game to play, but then that eventually turns into a big joke, and then it's like, okay, well, this isn't working. So,
no, it's a suggestion.
Yeah,
Clue might.
I think Clue would be a good gateway one. Yeah, exactly. So
check it out and let me know how it plays. I don't know if it. I'm sure there was some like updated version of it now, but let me know if it holds up.
It's pretty timeless. I bet it does. So, but yeah, I'll give it a shot and see what she says. So that about does her in this episode of Huskies Podcast. Please remember to send in the passcode. Andrew will give you the email. Yep.
huskieshockeypodcast@gmail.com by Sunday at noon.
I am Weldie at More Clappers, MOAR, More Clappers. And Andrew, other than the email address, you can find his handle at
Andrew SCSU HHP, cloudcoveragehockey.substack.com as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. Please reach out to us. Any other feedback on the show, please leave a review. All of that helps. We appreciate you guys so much for listening. I am going to find a blanket and hopefully
stay warm.
Yeah, exactly. So until next time, go Huskies. Woo!